Carrots are my favorite winter vegetable. Yes, you heard that right. I'm growing carrots through the winter here in Central Florida. It's the first week of October, and the time to plant carrots is perfect. I'm going to show you how to prepare your beds, how to plant them, and then how to get them off to a strong start. You'll be glad when you pull those carrots out in the spring. And why not invite the kids and grandkids to come find those carrots with you? Hi, I'm Debbie. Welcome to my organic garden.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
I'm testing to see if this bed is going to be a good candidate for carrots. Even though my garden beds are sandy, they can still pack down really hard. And you don't want anything interfering with those carrot roots as they grow down, or they'll split, or they'll just stop growing. Now, in the spring, I did put some old limbs down underneath the soil, hoping that by now they would be deteriorated. In some of my beds, they're not deteriorated yet to the point that I would want to put some carrots over the top of them. But this bed is a good one. So the first thing I have to do is move the Seminole pumpkin on that way, which is where I'm sending them for the winter months. Now that I've tested to see if the soil is really good all the way down, I'm just going to clear out some of this grass that I had over the top. And I'm going to create beds that are perfect for carrots. One of the things to remember about growing carrots is they like a loose soil. And just because my soil is sandy doesn't mean it's loose. It will pack down tight just as much as any other soil will. So the first thing I do is go through and I'm going to loosen up this whole bed before I even form the bed into a hill. My favorite tool for doing that is a pitchfork. That way you're not disturbing all the life that's going on in the soil. You're not tilling it. You're just loosening it up. Now, one thing that I was looking for when I was looking for the best place to form a bed is not to have any limbs down underneath. You see, in the springtime, I add old tree limbs at the bottom of the beds, and then I replace the soil. And that helps keep the beds raised and aerated, and the spring vegetables love it. But root crops do not do well if there's limbs and things like that in the way. So I'm going to just be sure that this is a bed that's got some good loose soil. And I just ran into some right now, so that's a good example. It's an old root. So roots do not decompose as fast as limbs. If your carrot runs into something hard, it's either going to stop growing or it's going to split, and you'll have some funny looking carrots like little men with legs. You can still eat them, but they like to send their taproot down deep. And I just want to be sure that they've got plenty of room to do that. planting the seeds now. They're going to grow through the whole winter. Now, I get frost on occasion. We'll get a short freeze on occasion, but they don't last very long. So I'm not even going to have to cover them up. They will survive our winter really, really well. And that's what makes it a perfect winter vegetable. It's just low maintenance. Once they're up and growing, it's just keeping them watered, and they're just fun. So much fun to pull them out when they're young and then let the grandkids come and discover the carrots. Every kid loves pulling carrots out of the ground. It's just, if it's their first time, it's worth it to see the look of amazement when they pull that carrot out. So carrots will go from all the way through October, November, December, January, February. It's going to be the middle of March before they're ready to harvest. And like I said, you can harvest them when they're very young and just, they're great roasted. But to have the big carrots that we like to show off, it's going to be March before they're ready. But by the middle of March, well, that's when I'm planting my spring garden. So I can follow up the carrots with something I want to grow in the spring. That's perfect. So now that I've loosened up all this soil, I'm just going to pull it all up into a bed. My favorite tool for doing that is this old garden rake. And it's probably 25 or 30 years old. Invest in a good one and they'll last you for years. So I'm just going to start pulling the dirt up and I'm going to make a bed. It's just that simple. I'm basically digging up from the sides of the original bed and pulling them up high. That's going to give the carrot roots even more depth to grow into. I just found a bunch of peanuts that I missed. That's cool. When you grow peanuts, you're not ever going to find them all. And next spring, I'm sure I'll find some volunteers coming up. I love it when I find stuff like that. It's only a few. It's just fun. Now that I've pulled all the soil up to the top, I just smooth it out and make it a wide bed. I'm going to put 2 rows of carrots here. And they need to be separated by at least 12 inches. I'm making it as level as I can because I don't want seeds to settle down into any little valleys that I'm making, because they will end up getting buried too deeply. Just the nature of sand, it settles in, and the poor little things that are trying to sprout just get buried. Now I'm going to pull 2 very shallow trenches down the length of this bed. I want the carrots to be planted about 12 inches apart from each other, but I don't want them close to the edge, because in the future, as I'm watering it, those seeds will actually fall down the side of the bed just from the action of the water. So I like to bring them in about 6 inches from the edge. Actually, that's actually a little too deep. So let me try again. You can't plant your carrot seeds too deep. They can't come up if you do. Even in sandy soil that's supposed to be really easy on them. One year, I thought, they're growing so well. I think I'll just do 3 beds, because if 2 is good, maybe 3 is even better. You see, I had seen where some gardeners claim that you can just broadcast them and then they grow just fine, crowded up close to each other. Well, I don't know. It didn't work for me. I'm not saying that they're lying, but it didn't work. What happened was I got less harvest out of 3 rows crammed in here than 2 rows. The ones in the middle, they came up all right, but then they didn't grow because the ones on the outside crowded them out with their leaves and everything. So the ones on the middle didn't get enough sunlight. So I don't know what's up with broadcasting them. Now this row of carrots here, provided I get a good harvest, will be harvested in March, and they will still be stored in my refrigerator for all through the spring, all through the summer, and into the fall. A good carrot will keep that long in cold storage. And we do prefer the fresh over canned, so I don't plan on preserving any of them that way. I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see how far apart these really are, and then I'm going to show you how to actually sow your carrot seeds. I laid down these plant markers so you can see more clearly how far apart they are. So about 12 inches or so. As I go down the rows planting, I'm going to be filling these in just a little bit like that. And I'm not even going to bury them. I'm going to bring you in real close so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I have 2 different varieties here, Scarlet Nantes and Imperator. These are my 2 favorite resources for seeds. Victory Seeds was packed for 2021. This one was packed for 2020. The Imperator, if it's marked, I don't see it anywhere. I know I bought these at the same time just this past fall, so I don't know why they didn't mark one. So I don't know how to show you how deep this is, but it's too deep. Maybe 3/4 of an inch deep. You can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it in a bit. Now, I used to plant them pretty thick because I was afraid they wouldn't germinate, but then thinning them out was a real big chore that I really didn't like. So I am taking the time now to sow them pretty sparingly. And I know you can't see this. It's just, they're so tiny. But I'm planting them approximately, some of them are dropping here about 1/4 inch apart from each other. Any thicker than that, and you're going to be out here all day long thinning them out. Now, the way I'm doing this is I'm rolling them in my fingers like this. I'm glad it's overcast today. It's still hot here in October. We're expecting a high of somewhere in the low 90s, maybe only the upper 80s. So this is going to move on down, and you know what? I've got enough to save for next year now that I see this. To sow them about 1/4 inch apart from each other. This is what I use to make a very fine mist. You don't want to water them any harder than that, or you're going to bury them too deeply. But the action of this water is going to bring enough sand down over those seeds. I will be out here at least once a day misting this bed of carrots. Your carrots have a nice soft bed to grow in. You didn't bury them too deep. You water them every day, and you'll keep watering them every day until you see some true leaves that have gotten a little bit of height to them. And then don't let them dry out. Here in Florida, you won't even need to cover them if you get frost or freeze. It's been exactly 8 days since I planted these little carrots. It's just always amazing to me how that little seed sprouts and eventually becomes something that I can eat. Everywhere where you're seeing that there's no little baby plants, that is where a sandhill crane thought it would be a whole lot of fun just walking right down the middle of my carrot bed. Do you see that? This. Here. See how the shadow's in that? You can see like 3 toes. Look, all the way down. So some of the seeds sprouted anyway, and some I'm probably going to have to replant. And it's okay if you have to replant even 3 or 4 weeks later. They're just going to be smaller when it comes time to harvest. Now that they've sprouted, I've switched from mist to shower, and I adjust it right here so that it's a very, very light, gentle shower. And I'll continue to do that until they're probably 3 or 4 inches tall. And after that, they can withstand the overhead sprinklers.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.